Thinking of getting started with beekeeping? Lucky for you, we've got two experienced beekeepers sharing beginning tips to keep your hives buzzing. So, Steve, looks like we have a little sun down here. What is that?
Yeah, you do. So you guys have been harassing me about not sharing berries. As we've talked about some of the garden things that's going on, and you're just like, where are my berries? I hadn't brought you any, and I still wouldn't have brought you any. But my wife took pity on you, and so the wife took some of those berries. So we canned some raspberry pie filling stuff. So we made a little thing. We're gonna have that for dessert when we're done.
That sounds
So
great.
you can tell my wife thank you because I wouldn't have done it for you.
Thank you, Steve's wife.
Yes, thank you. Looks delicious.
Yep.
So we might need to pause this.
The raspberries are on. That's going to be black and purple raspberries with some cream cheese.
Beautiful.
So
Looks great.
Yeah, that looks more exciting than what we're going to
I'm
talk
going to be
about.
focused on that instead of this subject. But
All right. Beekeeping. You want to get started in beekeeping. So, first of all, why would you want to start beekeeping on your hobby farm?
most people probably assume, or most people, it might be, it's like, I want the honey, right? And that's
Who
and
doesn't
that's,
like honey?
and that's one great, fantastic reason
It
to keep
is.
bees. That's not the reason why I started keeping bees, right? I wanted raspberries. I wanted pollinators. That's another thing. There's other things, beeswax. Maybe you're into candles or you're into making salves or creams, that kind of stuff, lotions, all sorts of products. The other thing is bees are just freaking awesome. And when I kind of jumped in, I really dove in and started learning about some of the different things about bees, and they're fascinating. And it's interesting to kind of learn about that as well. So that's another reason some people might get into beekeeping.
I'll be honest, when I learned that Steve was a beekeeper, I just started asking him some questions about it. And the more I heard from him about it, the more interested I became, and eventually decided, hey, this is something I want to give a try. And that's, so Steve is the reason why I got into beekeeping, just because it was an interesting thing to do. But it also, I mean, you need bees.
Yep.
The world needs bees. So by beekeeping, you help support bee populations. That helps the environment. It also is great for like the family, if you've got kids or something, to help teach them patience, help teach them respect for nature and how plants are grown. So it's a great teaching opportunity. And one of the things I've learned is you can never stop learning about bees. There's so much to learn, and you're never know-it-all. You're always learning something new.
Now, I have a phobia of bees, and I will say these guys put me in a bee suit before and put me out there, and it's not as bad as I would have thought.
Right.
It was kind of fun.
Once you learned that the bee suit was protecting you, you were pretty comfortable, right?
Wait till you see what we've left in your car.
Yeah, I watched the videos of people without a bee suit on, messing. Woo, they're braver than
I
I am.
used to do that when I first started. I don't know. I thought it was like my badge of honor. It's like, I don't need a suit. Oh, look at this. And 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't get stung.
Right.
Because now I'm more careful. I'm like, okay, I don't have anything on, so I make sure I'm moving slow. I'm using my smoke, and I didn't have any problems. Every once in a while, you do get stung, and I got to be where I was old and fat, and I'm like, I don't like getting stung. So now I typically do wear a jacket. I don't wear the full suit, but I do wear a jacket with a.
I'm the
veil.
same. I'll make sure I have a jacket and that I have a veil attached to it. So if I go out to a beehive and the bees seem a little bit aggressive, I'll put the veil on.
Yeah.
If they seem pretty calm, I'll take the gloves off
Yeah.
so that I have more dexterity.
We'll have to throw up the picture of me looking like the swamp creature.
Oh, we were going to, whether you knew it or not.
Once you get a stinger to the face, you learn to put on the veil.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. Like when we start thinking about, well, what do you need to start, right? So there's some basic equipment. You're going to need a hive, right? And there are different types of hives. There are the top bar hives. There are the Langstroth hives, which are by far the most common. There's now the
flow hives?
flow hives. Yeah, thank you. That people are getting into. So whatever works for you. The Langstroth are budget friendly. I mean, the top bar are even more.
I would say for a beginner, I would recommend the Langstroth hive because it's less expensive, it's easier. You might even be able to find somebody who's willing to give you some equipment or,
you can usually
or
find
sell
it
it
cheap.
to you
Somebody's
cheap.
getting out of it or has
Yeah.
extras.
You're also going to need a couple of important tools. You're going to need a smoker.
Yep.
So that's going to help calm the bees while you're doing your inspections or collecting honey. And you also need a hive tool, which is basically just a small handheld pry tool that you can use to scrape your beehive equipment. You can use it to lift frames. You can use it for all sorts of things. It's just
And there's
a
all
tool
sorts of
to
things you
have.
can add that as you go on down the road.
Sure.
Right? It's other equipment, but that's kind of your basics to get started. Eventually, if you do get into it for the honey, you're going to want some sort of an extractor, whether you do mechanical or handheld. But you can jump in and kind of dip your feet for very inexpensively. You find some used equipment. There are some concerns that come with used equipment and making sure that it's not doesn't have problems. But usually you can find something that's not going to be super expensive.
And you'll need some sort of feeder. So for supplemental feeding of sugar water, and there's different varieties available. So there's some that are really inexpensive, which I would recommend for the beginning beekeeper.
Yeah.
So just for the equipment, a ballpark figure to get started, $100, $200.
Well, that's tough for me to say because I haven't bought equipment in
Yeah.
quite a few years, and I know the price of it has gone up substantially.
My guess is if you live someplace where there are beekeepers out there, because every year there's somebody that's saying, I'm getting out of it. You know, I've done this for too long, or I tried it and it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
A couple $100, you can probably find something. If you go buy something brand new, starter kit off the internet machine,
New
it's
suit,
probably
new
$300,
gloves,
$400
new
bucks.
tools. You're probably, I would guess, $500-$600 now.
So I'm gonna say $300-$400, but it's gonna be cheaper stuff.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get good stuff. So.
All right, so there is going to be a little investment into this
Sure.
endeavor. All right, so how do you choose and install your bees?
So
Go ahead.
okay, a couple things you can do a package. I mean, sometimes you can catch a swarm if you're lucky. As a beginner, usually either doing a package or a nuke, right? A nuke is they've already been installed on some frames. They've already got brood going in there. The queen's already laying.
Yeah, it's a full colony.
They're
It's got
just
workers,
miniature.
it's got drones, it's got a queen.
Whereas the package is somebody raised a bunch of queens, then they went and they shook about 3 pounds of bees into a box, stuck a queen in there in a can, and then you take them home and you have to introduce that queen, get her to accept them, and so it's going to take a little bit longer, but it's going to be less expensive. Yeah. I've done both. Both are really straightforward and easy.
Yeah.
As a beginner, I always did nukes because I'm like, that's what I wanted to go with. As I got a little more experience, I started doing packages because they were cheaper. And I already had everything I needed. I just needed some bees. But both of them work really, really well. And
Yeah,
like
for a beginner, if you've got it in your budget, I'd go with a nuke. Just because it's easier to get your colony established, get that hive built up, and really see some progress with your colony.
Yeah, as far as starting off, then the other thing you need to do is get to know your bees in your hive, right? So about once a week, right? Go down there, crack it open, take a look, see what's going on, learn to identify, hey, this is what brood looks like. This is, I can see the queen, I'm seeing eggs. As things progress throughout the season, there'll come a time perhaps where now I got to start adding honey supers, right? They've kind of filled up their brood nest and now I want to add honey. So maybe I need to get a couple honey supers, add those. The other thing to do, consider starting off is something that you kind of did. That's find a beekeeper, right? Find somebody else that you can talk to. And I did the same thing when I started, right? I had a guy that lived around the corner from me, and I knew he was a beekeeper. He did lots of hives. He moved back and forth to California. But I'm like, hey, can I come shadow you and just watch you do your bees and kind of learn? And he taught me a bunch of stuff. He showed me, hey, this is the kind of stuff you need. Invaluable, because as a beginner you're like, I don't know, what's the right thing. But if you have someone there, and I see that all the time when I'm in some beekeeping groups on Facebook or whatever, and they'll be like, hey, I'm a newbie, is there someone that's willing to mentor me that I can come? And there's
Usually
30 people in that
beekeepers
group
love
that say,
sharing
hey,
their knowledge.
you bet, come with me, I'll come check out your hive with you and kind of help train you as you learn.
Yeah.
All right. So when you first get them, do you have to feed them with anything? Are they just good to roll?
It depends.
Yeah.
Usually, you'll get them earlier in the season. If there's not a real good strong flow, I almost always early on put a little sugar water out there, a 1-to-1 mix, just to make sure that they're having, because that queen's going to kind of base her laying on resources coming in. So if there's not a lot of stuff coming in, she's not going to lay a lot of eggs, which means when that finally hits, you're not going to have a lot of bees. That'll be a small colony. What you want is a huge colony to go out there and collect that. So you want her to build a little early. So sometimes you feed them a little bit to kind of stimulate that growth to get it going. If you get them later in the season or you catch a swarm, you may not need to feed at all.
Right.
It just depends.
And one of the things you want to do is, once you get your colonies set up in a hive, is inspect it periodically. Steve mentioned this earlier, but inspecting it is going out there, opening it up, and looking for the queen, looking for activity of laying eggs, looking for healthy numbers of bees, and looking to see, are they storing pollen, are they storing nectar, are they making honey, that type of thing. And once you learn what to look for and what all these different signs mean, it'll give you an idea of what you're supposed to do to help that bee colony thrive.
I'm going to throw in a caveat there. If you get like a package, because this is what I see a lot, right? You're excited. And so, you bring that package home and you put the bees in the hive and then you get the queen and people are like, well, how do I release her, this and that? And then they want to check. You don't want to be banging in that hive every day for the first week, right? Give them some time, especially if you have a new queen. So what I do, if I have a package, I'll bring her home. I leave her in the cage. She's got a couple of tenants, right? You put it so you won't drown her with syrup or whatever. Leave her there for three or 4 days, right? Then I'll come out, I'll open it up. I'll let the queen up, kind of watch, make sure it's not a problem. If that's fine, I close it, and I walk away for at least 7 days. Yeah. A lot of people want to go check the next day, see if she's laying. Sometimes that freaks the bees out, and they'll end up killing her. Yeah. Just wait a week, and then that gives her time to settle in, and then when I go back, she's been laying, and sometimes at my age, those little eggs are getting harder to see down at the bottom.
I got to put my readers on.
They weren't that hard when I was in my 20s, but now that I'm not in my 20s, so it gives them a little bit bigger. It's easier for me to say, okay, she's laying, she's doing well. So you do want to check on your bees, but at the same time, don't harass them.
Right. If you open that hive too many times, what you're telling the bees is this isn't a safe place to live.
7 to 10 days
yeah.
usually is kind of what I.
All right. And then finally, how well do bees coexist with other farm animals?
So I've never had a problem. I've had them with pigs and goats and cows and chickens and rabbits
and turkeys
and ducks. And yeah. I've never ever had a problem. Mine are separated. They're not right next to each other. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're actually fairly close, within about 50, 75 feet of the pigs. But I've never ever had a problem. The bees loved it when the pigs were there, because there was always stagnant water, but it was full of minerals and stuff. That's what they'd use for their water source when I had pigs. But I've never had a problem. Even the dogs and cats, they kind of give the bees a berth, and I've never had a problem.
Yeah, as long as you're careful with it. You don't want to set up your hives, right next to your coop, or in a place where the chickens or the goats are going to be feeding right in front of the entrance to that hive. If you do that, then it might become a problem where the animals are uncomfortable, the bees are uncomfortable. As long as you give them a little bit of distance, generally bees are very gentle unless they're scared or harassed. So they get along just fine with the other animals on the farm.
Yep.
So if you love bees and raspberries, like and subscribe. If you don't, I don't know why you wouldn't love raspberries.
Like and subscribe anyway.
That's right.
And while we're enjoying this awesome treat from Steve's wife.
Thank you, Steve's wife.
Why don't you leave a comment? What about?
Bees, raspberries, delicious desserts.
Mm-hmm.
Or any question in general.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Happy farming.
That is good.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to cut with this fork, though.
Yes.
Did we get everything?
No, I think we still have one more, maybe two. You
Oh,
can
do
stop
we?
recording.
You want to just watch us eat for 10 minutes?
No.